Afternoon, everybody. Right, on the bench this afternoon we got the Dyna, the 2007 Dyna Glide. You can see these engines are actually rubber mounted. Got a rubber mount point there. Three mounting points on these engines, which obviously keeps the vibration down. You can see the engine wobbling around. Well, not wobbling, but there's a bit of movement there. And when the rubbers start wearing, which they had perished when I bought this bike, even though it had only covered about 8,000 miles, it'd been sat around for quite a while. The rubber had perished, so the motor was moving a lot more in the frame. So you got to keep your eye on that with the Dyna Glides. The engine's up to temperature, so it always pays to have the engine up to temperature, so when you drain the oil you're going to get most of the oil out rather than it being cold and gloopy. So we're going to remove the engine dipstick. It's got some oil in it, that's good. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to undo that bolt there, the bottom of the oil tank, because on these the oil tanks are basically like a sump. They're mounted underneath the gearbox. Well, on the older Harleys the oil tanks used to be up here. Right then, get a ratchet. Then we go onto here, onto this nut. This is the nut we're looking at. So we will drainer. So we get a socket on there, and hopefully, yeah, didn't take a lot to do that. Really should get my gloves on, shouldn't I? There's your gloopy, horrible gloopy oil. And that's your drain plug. And on that drain plug there's a little magnet. You can see that. So we'll just whilst that's draining out, give it a while to drain out. We'll do the oil filter. Take the oil filter off, and that is situated here. It's tucked in there. We'll put this little thing. It's a little bit tight in there because obviously I've got an adapter behind there for this oil cooler I put on. But that's what you want, and that fits on the end of there like that. Then you get a 1/4 inch drive. So you've got Harley Davidson written on there, look. Nice. And then you loosen it off, like so. Should start seeing some oil come out of this in a minute. There it is, dripping all over everything. And there is your oil filter. we screw it back onto the filter housing. A bit quick before it all spills out. There. There we go. And really, you only have to do these up like a firm finger tight. So, right, let's put some oil in it. Okay, fire this up. So yeah, we had a little bit of a 1.5 second lifter block rattle come out of there, and then the obviously the lifter block's pumped up, so the oil's around there. So we'll now recheck the levels. Well, okay, gearbox oil. Well, we'll start off. We'll take the gearbox oil is this little the gearbox fillet is there, a little nut there. That's the top. We're going to take the drain plug out. I'll show you where the drain plug is. If we look under there, I don't know if we're going to be able to see this, but there. I don't know if you can see me pointing to that, but that's where the drain plug is. Just there for the gearbox. That was your engine oil, and that's your gearbox. And then the filler for the gearbox is just in there. So a little bit tight between the pipe and the side panel, so we're going to take the seat off, get the side panel off, and then we get access to that. Right, this pulls out. There's your battery. Is in there. And now we can get the drain plug, hopefully. Oh, we've got a little dipstick on there as well. Yeah, we've got oil in there. Little dipstick with the markings on there where your oil's supposed to be. Loosen that off. So I'm putting the plug back in, it's all nice and clean. So that's going to go back in here. Look in there. And that's fine. So that's the transmission done. Engine oil and transmission oil completed. Right, so we've done the engine oil, we've done the gearbox oil. Next thing is the primary. We've got to open the primary up and check the primary, make sure everything's okay in there, the compensator sprocket's alright and hasn't worn away. clutch should be alright. And most importantly, check my M6, my Hayden M6 primary tensioner, which is an aftermarket part I put in. I swear by them. These are them here. I swear by these things. I've had them in all my Harleys, and they're very, very basic, but they work. First thing off is the footrest. Get them off. That's it. What I like about these bikes with Harleys, they're pretty easy to work on, I must say. So that's your footrest off, and we want the gear lever off. What I'm going to do is mark this where it is on the shaft, so it goes back in the right position. So there you go. There's a little spacer there, I think. Rubber spacer I'm going to take off. Right, so the next thing is the clutch inspection cover. Now, for whatever reason, Harley Davidson has admitted there used to be an inspection cover here. And for whatever reason, they've got rid of it. And yet on these models, it's pretty important that you can actually take the inspection cover off and have a look and see. You can actually get your finger in there and check your primary tension. Nice cover this. It's got a Harley Davidson motif on it, and it looks nice. It goes really well with the bike. I mean, you get aftermarket ones of these with all different sorts, different types of thing on there. You can get the good old live to ride stuff as well. I used to hate it. They were like chrome with an eagle on there saying live to ride, ride to live. It almost made you puke. But people like putting that stuff on their bikes, but you can get some nice ones of these, anodised ones and whatever, and even clear ones, I think. You can see everything whizzing around in there, but it doesn't last long because it squirts oil everywhere, because your clutch is in an oil bath. So, that's that off. That's your cover. And then you've got one big gasketti over here. There you go. Oh. Harley Davidson. That's the way it goes on, because you've got the towards clutch. So the motif is towards the clutch. And there's a little bit of gasket sealer there. I can use that again, hopefully. There's your clutch in there, and there's your adjustment on it. And we'll see just what's been going on in this primary, because the compensator sprockets, which is the cog at the front, I'll show you in a minute, they ain't that good on these this model. We changed the design slightly and realised it was rubbish, and charged everybody for a Screaming Eagle upgrade. This is what I hate about Harley Davidson. They are absolute. I don't think they give a shit about their customers, to be quite honest. They leave it for the customers to have to rectify design faults on their motorcycles. And they've been doing it for a long time. We've got the primary out of casing off now, and we can see exactly what's going on inside. And let's have a little look. This is your clutch. That's attached to your gearbox main shaft. So there's your starter motor sprag clutch, which when you press the button that flips out, solenoid flips out and it engages with this outer ring, which starts, which obviously spins and starts your engine. And this cog, now this is your output shaft on your motor, basically part of your crankshaft. And this cog you can see here, this drive cog, it's called a compensator sprocket. And you can see it's doubled up, so you've got double teeth. I think the Sportsters have got more teeth. On the Sportsters you'll have 3 or maybe 4, I can't quite remember. I should be able to remember, but I don't because I'm getting old. But behind here you've got a spring mechanism, and this thing is in 2 halves, and it's got like serrated, oval serrated edges. Serrated? No, oval. Oh, how can I explain it? Oval serrated edges, I guess. And there's a spring that holds it together, so there is movement. This isn't directly attached to the output shaft. There is like a cush drive, let's call it a cush drive, but a metal one, rather than like with the Japanese bikes in the rear wheels they have rubber ones. And that is designed, because of the power pulses of these engines, that's designed to smooth things out slightly. Now, there are people that would take the compensators off and run a direct, just bolt a sprocket onto the end of the the output shaft. But anyway, this one is back to front. On this model year, most of the compensators you had a spring on the outside. It would have been so much easier to explain to you with the spring on the outside. It's a great big spring, and that keeps everything tight, and it keeps those, let's say, beveled serrated edges on the sprocket together. I'll put a picture up on the screen for you anyway, but that keeps them together. So you'll see how it all works. But this one is back to front, and the springs tended to be quite weak, and they didn't really do their job that well. But this one, I mean, it's looking okay. I've got nothing that looks untoward going on there. Another issue with these is you've got one of these, which is your standard Harley Davidson primary tensioner, and that would fit. This is an aftermarket one that you're looking at. That's a Hayden one. And I fit these Haydens very, very simple in concept, but I fit them to all my Harleys. Well, I've had them on quite a few, and they seem to work really well, and they are so simple. But yeah, this is your standard one, and that's on like a ratchet mechanism. Don't know if you can see that. It's difficult to show you, but when your chain goes slack, that moves. Did you see that? That sort of moves up on these teeth. Oh, it's a job to show you. Let's stick it on there. See if we can. There you go. So that would move up, and then that would stay there. That would ramp up. Now, if your primary chain has got a slack point, and as we all know with drive chains on our motorbikes, you can have tight points on there and slack points. A chain will have a tight point. This would ratchet up to the slack bit and over tighten it. It would basically, this would ratchet up to the slack part of the chain, and then when you came round to the tight part of the chain, there'd be too much pressure on there, and it used to cause all sorts of problems. It caused problems with your gearbox shaft, the bearings, all sorts of stuff. So this isn't a very good design, and it's quite complex. You know, they never used to have them like that. On the old shovel heads and the Evos, you'd have a little cage there, and you'd unbolt. That's where you had your inspection cover, and you could have a look in there. But you'd unbolt your block like that and just move it up a notch. There would be this, there'd be like a serration sat at the back, and you just move it up and bolt it back in. So it was quite obviously it was a maintenance. It was a process you had to do every, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 miles, just check your primary. But detention, but you could do that by putting your finger in there, in the little inspection cover, which we haven't got on this. So Harley came up with this, a little bit over complex. So I now use these, what they call Hayden M6 primary tensioners. So that's what they look like. There's the cage with a spring underneath, and there's shims, and that's how you, if your spring wears or your spring loses its springiness, you just shim it out. And there's your springs. There's your shims in there. So that's how it works, and you can see the shim in this one. And that's giving basically 3/8 clearance, and this one's running bang on, and it's been in here a fair old while, so it's running lovely. But if it did lose its springiness, you just obviously put another shim in and it tightens it up. It just fits in there. You undo that, takes it off. Brilliant idea. Very, very simple, but works. So yeah, there's all your shims in there, and this is the original. Now that's an Evo. And like I say, there's a bit of wear on that. But there's your serrated edges, and they would fit. There would be a steel insert in there, and they would clamp up against the insert with a bolt. And you just undo your bolt and you move it up and down. You know, to get your adjustment manually. And once it was adjusted, that's how it would stay until you adjusted it. You know, 2,000–3,000 miles later. So that's an Evo, and then this is the shovel head one, and they ain't changed. Exactly the bloody same. I think they, you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. What works, leave well alone. So yeah, obviously it's a little bit different there. Got a big old steel block on the bottom of the shovel one, and with the Evo, you've just got 2 holes drilled through the nylon, but that's obviously riveted on. So I should think that you would have been able to change that by taking the rivets out and re-riveting it. But obviously, as time changed, it just turned into buy a complete new nylon block. But yeah, so Evo shovel head. That's a lot heavier as well. Hell of a lot. Bloody, it weighs about 3 times as much as that one. Look at that, look, there's the old welds. That's somebody in the factory just welding them up with an arc welder. Brilliant. But this, yeah, this one works. There you go, that's what happens. So you've got a constant pressure on there all the time on your chain. And it's not tightening up or slackling off, or if it is, you've still got a constant pressure on this. So I think these M6s, I've used them in all my bikes. I've used them all in all my bikes, these M6s, and I think they're great. So there you go, look. I don't know if they, well, I don't even know if they still, I should think they do. It's Hayden M6. Motif to the front, inwards, towards the clutch. There you go. And we get this beautiful, I love that, derby cover they call them, clutch cover, derby cover. Americans have got a name for everything, haven't they? Different name. There you go, that's the fluids changed on the Dyna. Now I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, it's the way I do it. Everybody's got their own way, but I mean, it's pretty basic, but straightforward, changing the oil and filter on these things and the gearbox oil, and having a look at the primary. I thought that might have been of interest to some of you. There's quite a bit going on there in a Harley primary, but yeah, so there you go. I think that can come down off the bench. And then the next thing to go up on the bench is me good old Enfield Himalayan. So that needs a really good proper service. I told you I got to do the head race bearings. That was in a vlog I did before when I was checking them out. They need doing. It won't start at the moment. I think a solenoid, I got a sticky solenoid. I went to start it the other day and it wouldn't work because I haven't ridden it for 3 weeks. So it needs going through, having a good look at. Have a look at the back suspension, check all the bearings in the back suspension, swing arm bearings because they've not been touched. I've done the linkage bearings, but I've checked them since I've had it, but it's 20,000 mile now. So and it's been underwater a couple of times, so it's probably not going to be pretty on the back end. So we do a service on it. So that's the next thing that'll be going up on here. Then I've got some forks. I've got a fork kit for the Enfield for the Continental. So there'll be a fork kit going in. YSS fork kit going in on that one. I've got the 650M outfit. That motor's down at my mate Ash's Autos, because I just ain't got time to have a look at it. I've got so much on, and my main thing I've got to do this year, else I will get murdered by certain people, is that I've got to get this old girl up and going. Not a lot to do on it really. Just I've started the wiring. Like I say, most of this is original, apart from the bloody tyres. I had the rims paid. The original rims on it were they were buckled to hell, so I've got a set of 45 rims, the same rims, and I had them powder coated. They're a lot straighter and had them laced. The only thing is, a mate of mine, he said I shouldn't have had the stainless spokes put in there. It's not in keeping with the bike, but it was a bit, where it was all original, there were some things on it that needed looking at. You know, it wouldn't have been safe to ride it, I don't think. It's like I had to strip the paint. The paint wasn't original. It was yellow, but it wasn't original, and there was a filler hanging out of the tank and stuff, and I thought, I don't know what's going on under there, so that had to come off. Which luckily there was just a few little dents which I've left in. A few little moon dents. There's one. No, that's the bloody. Where are we? Anyway, there's a few little dents, but that's all part and parcel of what's happened to the bike over the years. As you can see, it's got the old damper on there, and there's a load of stuff up there as well. A central damper. It's a central damper that fits in there, fork damper. But yeah, this is an original one. It's got the old toolbox. Where's the toolbox on it? There's the primary. There's some of the wires. There's the original toolbox. Ain't got the key, but those bloody pattern things fit, and that just whaps on there like that. And then there's a back seat that goes on it. That's, well, a hell of a original rear chain guard. And there's some seats. Here's the covers off of them. They've got some beautiful embossed HD. Look at that. That's 50s for you, isn't it? HD logo on there. So they were knackered. They were all like scrunched up. I've put some lanolin on there and stuff to try and get them back pliable, because they were like bloody paper, and they'd shrunk. They'd actually shrunk from the seat pan, but I'm sure I can get the pans covered with leather, and then this sort of like, it's small, it's too small for the seat pan now, but I can get it inlaid on top just to have the original seat. But there you go, that would go on there. And it's got a weird back seat set up where I've been told it's quite rare. It was an extra you could have for that, you know, for the in their extras catalogue, and it was a back seat that hung over the back axle, and there's a little on here. Now, you old boys that are into these things, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. A little handlebar setup that goes up, and this was a South African police bike, and the guy. Now, this is a story. I'm going to have to, you know, I'll vlog all this when I start doing it. But the guy that sold this to me, he was the third owner, and he was ex-South African police. So he had it back in the 50s in South Africa. The first owner obviously was the police force. Then a farmer had it, and then this gentleman, Roy, his name was, he bought it, and he knows more or less everything. Well, he did. He's passed away, sadly. He was in his 80s when I bought this off of him, but he knew everything about the bike, and I've got loads of photos of the bike back in the day. It's a little gem, really. But this had a sidecar on it. So all your South African police bikes, the big 12s, they didn't have the 80 Cubers over there, I don't think, but they had the 1200s, the Model U this is. They all had sidecars. And 45s, now they called them a different name in South Africa. They weren't called the 45, but the 750 3-speeders, they were the solo bikes. So this was fitted with a sidecar for probably all its police life, and then obviously when the farmer had it, he had a chair on it. And then when Roy got it, he didn't have a chair on. The chair had disappeared, probably sat in a barn somewhere in South Africa. But yeah, there wasn't. He was saying to me that there wasn't a lot of aftermarket parts or patent parts for these, so I used to fix them. And this is why it's so original, this bike. But yeah, it's and I've been a bugger. I've had this for 5 or 6 years now, and maybe a bit longer, and I should have really had this up and running now, but I've had other things on the go, and I do like my motorbikes and I like riding them, but I will get this one done for me mate, old Trevor, because he will murder me and steal it if I don't do it, because it needs to be, as he said, it needs to be out there on the in Harley Davidson land, out on the circuit. With the guys that appreciate this sort of stuff, but that as it is, that's got his foot in 2 camps. You know, I've taken the the back of the mudguard off, and there's a beehive, original beehive on there as well. But we've got a Sparto on there, and it's your bobber, isn't it? It's your bobber. Put a little single sprung seat on that, and you've got your original bobber. So you could take that to any sort of like Harley land custom show, and it would be the business, or you could take it to a vintage meeting, you know, a VMCC club meet, and it would be equally at home, because it's real. It is what it is. It's not something pretending to be something it isn't. So I always like my bikes. I've always said, rambling on a bit now, but I always like my bikes. I like honest bikes. I don't like bikes that pretend to be something they ain't. Yeah, that's it. So we'll get that thing. We'll get this thing up and running. We get I'll do a vlog on it this winter, and all you guys that know that know what you're doing, you can laugh and take the piss out of me. It's but yeah, right, okay. Well, that's that done anyway. And like I say, the next thing is going to be the Himalaya. So yeah, thanks for sticking with it, and I hope you haven't all fallen asleep, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Tatty bye for now.